So what do the master case endings chart look like when we use the traditional method and not Mounce's method? So Mounce's method is going to be different. If you look at the textbook, he has a different chart than the one I'm listed here. What I've done is I simply added the stem vowels to the case endings, and we're gonna memorize the noun endings this way. So if we have, for example, a masculine noun like logos, the case endings for logos is os, on, oi, us. And what that means is that we're right now we're only learning two cases. We're learning the subject case, the nominative cases. This is for the subject, and then we're learning the accusative case or the direct object case. And so that the N here means nominative, the S here means singular, the A here means accusative, the S here means singular, the P means plural, but we also have nominative and accusative cases. So we have a different ending depending on whether something is nominative singular, accusative singular, nominative plural, or accusative plural. And you would want to memorize the endings as, again, os, on, oi, us. These are the endings. And if we have a feminine noun, let's say phone, then its nominative singular, accusative singular, nominative plural, and accusative plural endings are for phone is going to be a, ein, I, os. Those are the endings. And those are what I would call the normal endings. Now, if you notice, there is, in fact, some alternative endings, alpha and on here. And these are also the nominative and accusative endings, but they're used with particular type of feminine nouns. So the first declension nouns are feminine. So if you notice that I wrote feminine here. And you use the alpha and on endings when the stem ends with an iota, epsilon, iota, or rho. So if we have a word like day, which chimera, you notice that it ends with an alpha, and that tells you that you use the alpha endings for the singular forms, and the plural forms are shared in the same. And then lastly is ergon, and this means work. Phone, by the way, means voice or sound. Chimera, we just said, means day. Logos here, again, means word. Logos is a good masculine noun. Phone here and chimera here are good feminine first declension nouns. Ergon is a very good neuter noun, and its endings for the nominative, singular, accusative, nominative, plural, and accusative plural are on, ah. And we'll put that in use in just a moment. So let's fill out the chart then. So if I want to use, say, logos, I want to use logos in the sub as the singular. So I say the word is good, and I want to use it in this as a singular noun, and I want to use it as a subject of the sentence. Then the form of logos I would use is logos. Remember, the endings are os, on, oi, and us. So if I want to use logon as the if I want to use the word as a direct object, I spoke the word, then I will use the accusative form, the accusative singular form, logon. If I want to say the words sung to my heart, the word sung to my heart, and I want to use a plural form of the words, and I want to use it as a subject of the sentence, then I wouldn't use logos because that's singular. I would use logoi. And if I wanted to say I sang the words, and I'm using words plural as a direct object, then I would use the accusative plural form, and I would write la goose, la goose. So let's say these nouns together. The paradigm for the nominative and accusative singular and plural forms for logos is logos, logon, logoi, logoose. I want you to say it with me. Even if you're by yourself, don't feel silly about it, but pronounce it out loud. One more time. Logos, logon, logoi, logoose. You're going to have to recite this paradigm as part of your audio exercises on the module. Now let's take a feminine noun. And the one I used here is graphe. Oops. Which means writing. That's supposed to be a fee, by the way. There we go. Okay, so graphe. And then if you remember how the feminine case endings look like, we said that the case endings for the nominative singular all the way down the chart is a, ein, I, and os. So it's the same thing. If I want to say graphe means writing or scripture. Scripture. If I want to say that scripture is good, then I would say graphe. I would use graphe, singular. If I want to say the scriptures are canon, then I would say graphi, because here I'm using the plural as the subject of the sentence. If I want to use it as a direct object, I love scripture, singular, then I would use the word graphane to talk about I love graphane, I love scripture. And now if I want to say I'm reading the scriptures, plural, as a direct object, then I would say I am reading graphos. I would say that I would use graphos because that is the plural form. So let's read this together. So the paradigm or the case endings, nominative, accusative, for the feminine noun graphe would be graphe, graphane, graphi, graphos. Let's say this again. Graphe, graphane, graphi, and graphos. And lastly, and I'm going to clear the page so that we have a little bit more room for the last one. We have ergon. And this means work. And if you remember the case endings for ergon, it's on, ah. And so if I want to say work is good, and it is, work can be good. Ergon, all right? And if I want to say I love work, it would also be ergon. And say, oh, wait a minute. They're the same. They have the same endings. Well, how do I know if the Greek word is being used as a subject of the sentence or as the direct object of the sentence if it's a neuter noun? Now, you won't have a problem with logos because if you remember logos, the subject is os and only the direct object is on. But for neuter nouns, ergon, like ergon is what uses the same ending for the subject and the direct object, for the nominative and the accusative. So it's context. When you see the word actually used in the sentence, I think almost immediately you can tell whether the word is being used as the subject of the sentence or the direct object of the sentence, because one sentence will make sense and the other one will just be gibberish. It will not make sense at all. So usually, almost all the time, most students do not have a problem finding the subject of the sentence or the direct object of the sentence because the context will tell you how it's used. So you look at the grammar first and then you see what your options are and then you choose between whether ergon is being used as a subject of the sentence or as the direct object in the sentence. But what if I want to say works, not just work singular? So The works that God does is always good. And I would write erga, and that's so works are good, and so that would be the subject of the sentence there. And I do good works. Every Christian should do good works, and I use it as a direct object of the sentence. Oops, do this again. This is a row. Erga. So it's also erga. So again, context will tell you whether it's being the plural form is being used as a subject of the sentence or the direct object of the sentence. So we have this paradigm for the Greek word ergon, and it's spelled, and so we have ergon, erga. Can you say that with me? For the paradigm work, its noun and accusative cases, singular plural, are ergon, erga, erga.